I'm Erin Lawler-Patterson, the Goodness Chick. I'm an international speaker, life coach, author, and proud part of the Mental Health News Radio Network. Join me on the journey of empowering you to kick butt in life, not get kicked by life, addressing mental health, relationships, self-care, and giving back. All right, so today, before we rock out with today's show, want to kind of give a plug with CBD Pure. For those of you folks, whether you're starting school, a new job, new gig, you know I've been talking about the power and absolute beauty when it comes to tapping into the benefits of CBD oil. The medicinal benefits are unhinged, whether it be anxiety, depression, trouble sleeping, memory. It's something that I am a firm believer in, that is untapped and is not only a great benefit to yourself, but if you're looking for an awesome back to school gift or looking for something because before fall kicks in, great gift, hop on goodnesschick.com, check out my storefront, and it's something that I know you will have no regrets with. And it's also kind of can be incorporated into a topic that we're going to hit today that I do believe affects and impacts so many people out there when it comes to grief and wellness. And today, my special guest, Jason Wendroff-Rawnicki, who is super awesome. I've known a very long time. We'll just put out there, owner of Shine Yoga, we'll say a guru of goodness when it comes to wellness, eating, yoga, all that jazz, essential oils. Jason, I want to introduce you and say thank you for being on the show today.
No, this is absolutely my pleasure. And I think for this particular crew, I think one of my biggest things is that we're cousins. So
we're cousins. I'm like, we're cousins. So we're cousins, we're relatives. And it's funny because you kind of pop in my head once in a while when it comes to, I've been meaning to like have you on the show for a while. And, I think about like just we wellness and thinking about, just things in life, that kind of bring us to where we are. And I'm like stoked. I'm pre-hurricane stoked. Got the hurricane coming in a few days. I know you guys are heading to Woodstock in a few days. So we've got a lot of things going on, but able to come together and do the show. So talking about grief and wellness, two things that usually, right, you're like, how does that go hand in hand, and how it kind of needs to go hand in hand. And I'm going to ask you, starting off, like, what does this mean to you, and how has this area of your life, I'll say, shaped you?
Okay, so that's a really great question, because it's when I lost my sister Lauren in a car crash 21 years ago, right?
Which is crazy. I think 21 years, Jace. It's like,
I know. And how long has Shayna been gone?
20 years, a little less than a year after Lauren. And I was like, God, 20, that's crazy.
It's absolutely, yeah, it's absolutely crazy. So so it was 21 years ago, and I'm just dealing with this loss. This loss is fresh. And I was looking around for different support groups to help me through this. As we were talking before the podcast, you talk about having a wingman or having a community of people. Well, I was searching for that community of people, and it was hard to find. Nobody was really talking about it, like, even publicly. Which is really one of the reasons why I'm doing more podcasts lately, is to get this message out there so that people that are experiencing this loss right up front have a community of people and have nowhere to go in order to find help, or at least in those beginning stages. Because when I started, there weren't many groups out there, and I was literally flying solo. My parents were part of an organization called the Compassionate Friends. They found that really quickly, and that was amazing for them as parents. Yeah. But as siblings, nobody had any length of time where they were grieving. So nobody knew what was going on. Like, we were all kind of the blind. Solo, yeah. Blind. And I was just like, I went to a couple of meetings, and I'm like, I don't know if this is really going to be helpful for me. I don't have a model of someone who's found joy after the loss of their sibling. It just wasn't readily available. So I had to search out other things. I was like, well, what am I going to do? I can't just, sit in my room and cry forever. Yeah. Like, I have to find a way of dealing and managing this. Now, I have a master's in psychology. So I was very familiar with the kind of verbal therapy piece, but even that wasn't really getting to the issues. Like there was something that was missing. So that's what turned me in, like, I was like, oh, I'm practicing yoga, or I was practicing yoga prior to her death. And then I took a little break because I was just going through what I was going through.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, I have this as part of my life. Before she passed, they were saying all kinds of things about connecting to the universe and letting the energy flow through. And I had no idea what that really meant. But then when she passed, I was like, okay, maybe there's something, maybe I'm missing something in that languaging. So I turned to yoga, and then that turned me, the more I got involved with yoga, then I'm like, well, what if I shifted my diet? What if I shifted my exercise routines? Mm-hmm. What if I shifted my lifestyle and what I use in my home? And then, like, so all of those shifts eventually happen gradually. Mm-hmm. So now I'm, so that I'm educating now people on how to use healthy lifestyle choices to help manage their grief. And
I think it's awesome with what you're doing. The more you're talking about it, it's kind of funny. I think about how it's multifaceted when it comes to like kind of pursuing that state of wellness, because I don't want to say just with counseling, but counseling's awesome. The verbal aspect of it and starting to dig, but it's like the spokes on a bicycle wheel. There's so many facets of it that can allow us overall to just be more well-balanced. And absolutely part of it is not just talking, but like the physical end, the spiritual end, how yoga plays a part of that. Or for someone might be, I need to do kickboxing or Pilates, or what we put in our bodies. So from 21, it's 21 years ago to now, right. How for you, like your whole lifestyle is like has just absolutely tremendous changes, right?
Yes,
and what would you say if somebody's listening today and they're like, you know what, I lost somebody, whether it was 5 years ago or 5 months ago. I know I'm in a place that I'm treading water. What would you say? What are like those first initial steps? Because if we look at the big picture, sometimes of all these things I need to do, we shut down. Right.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
what are some, like the little itty bitsy, we'll say baby steps, would you say as somebody who now focuses on this, would you advise them, encourage them to do?
Yeah. So the simplest thing is go out for a walk. Mm-hmm. I know it sounds simple, but when you're in those beginning stages of grief, you can't hear anything like that. You're so, maybe disconnected is the word that's coming to me right now. Disconnected from your body. That you're out there, especially as a sibling. You're out there trying to protect your parents and the friends and the family and everyone, and it's very just overwhelming in general. Then you have the feelings of loss and sadness that come up. So just taking a moment and maybe going for a walk. Like move your body in some way, or putting on some good music and dancing around the room. That's always a great, like if you can't get outside or you can't like take a couple of minutes to go for a walk, depending on where you live, maybe just putting on some good music and dancing around a little bit, close the door, and just kind of move around.
Jam. Yeah,
because something simple like that, I would love to say, take a couple of deep breaths in, but your body isn't, like, as much as I would love, like, because that actually would help as well. But in those beginning stages,
you're deflated. You're deflated. So you're not thinking straight. But I do think there's absolute relevance and power in the outdoors. And it might be like, I can't go for a mile walk, but I could sit on my back porch and just breathe in fresh air, because that is, I think those initial stages, so easy to just be almost like trapped in your room under the covers or on the couch watching TV. That reinforces that state of and depression and heaviness. And outside is crazy important, and as is the music. And that might be like, I'm listening to music that makes me cry. That's okay, where you're still like you're feeling and you're beginning to just be less stagnant. I don't know if that's the right word.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love, like, the outside piece is really important, and that's why essential oils can play a really important part in that. So like you could diffusing something like balsam fir or pine or cypress some of those like, or even floral aromas, like lavender or geranium is coming up for me, but like something to bring the outside inside is also a great, because sometimes it's just, there's too many logistics right in the beginning to sometimes getting outside may even be hard. Right. But if you have a diffuser with some essential oils, you can then help, you can bring the outside inside. And it also, the science also shows that anything that we smell directly affects our emotions, because our olfactory bulbs are connected right to our limbic brain, which is totally in control of our emotions. So there are some essential oils that can really uplift you, especially when you're in those early stages where all it literally is putting some water in a diffuser and pushing a button. Something even simple like that to uplift the mood.
But I think that's underutilized, because I've said that, whether, that's as a counselor or a life coach or whatever. And it's funny that sometimes I'll get an eye roll, like, well, what benefits does this really have, the diffuser? And I'll say, like, tremendous benefits. Correct. Whether it's in your kitchen, when you're sleeping at night, having one in your bedroom. And I know there's even like car diffusers, like where you're spending time. Absolutely. So for somebody, we'll say, I know so many people have trouble sleeping when they're going through the grief process. They're in their bedroom. Would you say those ones that you just rattled off as some of the top ones? Anything in particular for sleeping?
So there are three oils that are kind of on the top of my list for sleep. It depending on what area that you have trouble sleeping. And for most people, I'm guessing it's the falling asleep piece, because their mind is just going and cycling, and so that lavender would be the best for that. And then there's the staying asleep piece, which some people have an issue with, and like something like cedarwood or vetiver. Those are two really great essential oils to help keep you asleep. Okay. And I know every essential oil company has different oil blends. Most companies have a sleep blend. So the brand I use is called doTERRA, and we have our Serenity blend, which has all three of those oils already combined into one.
It smells awesome. Serenity is unbelievable. And so now, I've got some, I'm going to stay oily here. You've got your bedroom. Now it's like, I've got to take that huge step. I don't know if you remember this, like the struggle, like going in public, being around people, first wanting to at times feel like you want to throw up. Not to get the descriptive here, to like my stomach hurts and I'm anxious. What's something that they could travel with, in their bag and in their car, that they could kind of put on, whether it's smelling. And for those of you who are listening, who, whether it's anxiety or you're in the midst of grief, or like when I tell you these things help, like mucho, I mean, you're the guru when it comes to oils. Yeah.
So, you mentioned a couple of different things.
Okay, I was out there, sorry. She's everywhere.
well, because like anxiety is like one thing, and then having the motivation to get up and get out is like as you traveled out the door, there would be like a few different recommendations. So if you're talking about just the getting up the energy and the excitement just to go outside or get out of your house, I would go with something with like a citrus in there, because like a wild orange or tangerine or even lemon or lime, because citrus oils are very invigorating. They're very live, and they're very also cleansing as well. So it can help cleanse those kind of negative feelings that you've got going on and reactivate the positive kind of the goodness. Yeah,
the goodness. It is. Lemon's like one of my staples, dude. I love lemon. Yeah, is awesome.
Because it's both cleansing and uplifting. So it can release those negative emotions and invite in like kind of that motivation.
Right.
Yeah. And now when you're talking about anxiety, anything that's kind of like, I think frankincense, in my opinion,
I love frankincense.
As far as for brain function and to help just ground everything down, is really fantastic. It's one of the few, they use it religiously because it does cross the blood-brain barrier, and it gives you that kind of, allows your brain to work more optimally and helps to really ground. It's a very thick oil, and it's very grounding.
It's a beautiful oil. Yeah, it smells wonderful.
doTERRA has a fantastic blend called Balance, which is amazing for like anxiety.
Okay. So you would say balance with anxiety then?
Yes.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Awesome.
That kind of brings everything to an even keel, because sometimes like the anxiety comes up, and then the depression, and then the anxiety comes and so this kind of helps to stabilize that.
And that's something you could even diffuse too.
Yeah, you could diffuse, or you could carry it around with you. Actually, if you see what I'm wearing, it's hard. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I have a raw wood necklace. And so I put a couple of drops of essential oil right on the necklace, and then I can hold it over my nose whenever I need it, and it's right there with me. And I want to explain a little bit about this, because it's actually kind of cool. So this is, we call them connection pendants, and it's made by an artist from Australia, and they're all hand burned. So they're all individual pieces. And what the idea is that you connect with your sibling that way. So whatever you hold it close to your heart, so that your sibling is always near you and always close to your heart. And then whenever you think of your sibling, you can kind of give it a little smell. Everything is unique, so everyone's going to be individual. And then as you layer the oils on them, they kind of take on their own unique smell as well. So
that's pretty beautiful.
Yeah. I'll make sure the link to is in the liner notes.
Okay, awesome. I'll make sure. We'll definitely in the notes, guys, check that out. Between oils and I love that necklace. Actually, it's beautiful. And I actually have some beads, but I think Jack got a hold of them, and they're somewhere in my house. So they are treasure hidden somewhere in my home. But all these different little things. So we're looking at oils. We're looking at getting outside. We're looking at ways of getting our body moving and kind of transitioning to that. Like yoga would be obviously one of those components.
Yeah, it's not the only though. It's like any body-centered approach. Now, I recommend to my clients, because I do a bit of private work. I've been doing some energy healing as well, because that's kind of another modality in my kind of bag of tricks. But I always recommend, like, if someone has a lot of anger and frustration, go take that cardio kickboxing class. Go take something that's going to get that aggression out physically, because everything that we do gets recorded in the cells of our body. And so if you don't give whatever you're experiencing an opportunity to express itself, it gets trapped in the cells. It doesn't get a chance to move out. And so what you'll keep recycling, unless you express that, you will keep recycling the same patterns over and over and over again. And so, as I say, yoga is just one. Tai Chi is another also kind of energy moving technique, but based in the Chinese tradition. Go out for a run, go out for a walk, go for a bike ride.
I think the physical component is something that's necessary for everybody, but just like you're saying, everybody's different. And I know for myself, like when, it was for my release for myself when I lost Shayna, I'm a very physical person in terms of needing to just push that out. And it was kickboxing was massive for me. It was surfing. It was just feeling, I don't want to say pain, but just getting it out, like literally. And so every single person, it's finding, what works. And I think, if you're somebody that's listening now that have somebody that you're concerned about, that has been through something, has lost, and loss comes in so many different forms, with your relationship with them, it's okay to say, do you want to come to a kickboxing class? Hey, I found this, this yoga studio up the road. Do you want to come check out putting ourselves out there a little bit, whether it's as family members or friends. And sometimes it's throwing them a lifeline that they don't even realize that they need.
Right. But the thing is, I think we are all different, and we all experience our grief different. And so when you throw out that lifeline, you say, hey, let's go to a class. If they tell you, no, I'm not ready for that, just like really, don't stop trying, but just realize that they're not ready. Yeah, they're not ready. And trust that, because, everyone will come to it in their own way. And I just, because experiencing the loss after, let's say, 1 week or 2 weeks is very, very different than like you and I, which are
very different. Yeah. I said everybody, it's letting things settle a little bit. I've had people reach out to me, say, such and such is just, literally just lost this person. Can you send me a list of counselors? Can you send me? And you got to give some, inundating somebody when something's just happened it's not going to probably go very well.
Yeah,
so
and for everybody, it takes that settling down process takes what it takes. For me, it was like a few months before I can get. But I know many people, it's a few years. And that's like it. There's nothing wrong. Like it's just that process for that person that's what it's going to take.
Right. And there's no blueprint. I know there's lots of books and we're talking about this, but every single person's wired and just different. And so it isn't, I think there's nothing wrong with, like we said, throwing out there, hey, there's this class. And if they say no, it's, maybe they just, do you want to go for a walk? Do you want to just get a cup of coffee and not even talking about anything? Just, I think human connection is so critical where it's, where we get is, because you had said like, hey, there was nothing at that time. There was nothing. I think now we're progressing, but we still have a really long way to go. And most people have lost somebody that they love in their life at some point in life. And I'm like, why do we get so weird? And it's like, I don't know what to say. Sometimes it's okay not to say anything and just that eye contact or drop off a plate of, cookies, or it's just, here's some dropping off a coffee, or let's go for extension, human extension. Right. Oh my gosh. And you don't need, you don't need to always say anything. And sometimes we say stuff, we say not good stuff.
Well, yeah. And that's the thing. And also remember that someone who's dealing with a loss, and if you haven't experienced it yourself, sometimes that's all they're immersed in. So talk about something mundane like, hey, did you see this movie? Or, like what TV shows are you watching? Like, because it's nice to talk about something other than, also, one of my big things is it took me a while to get involved in like groups and stuff like that and in the community, because I didn't want to be known as that person who only deals with, grief and loss. I've got so much other stuff happening that I don't want to get pigeonholed in. Oh, there's the grief yoga instructor, or there's the grief. I'm coming to it now because of the need for it. Because and I'm going to talk a little bit about what we put in our body, because I think that's just as important as movement. As getting out in nature. Because one of the things I'm noticing is a lot of people are turning to things like drugs and alcohol, and rather than kind of looking at their diet and looking at their supplementation and looking at, all of the healthful things that we can be putting into our bodies, rather than some of the other stuff. So, and I think that is so critical. Like I know being on an omega supplement is really great for anxiety and brain health, because this way it's another great way of stabilizing the mood. It's also good for pain and joints as well, because when we're feeling achy and tired after a long day, like having that good quality supplements and that nutrition in our body through good foods and that is really critical as well.
It's critical. It's hard. It's easy to lose sight of that when you're going through that, but it is keeping that kind of in the forefront, because it can compound us feeling gross and feeling sad and all those things. And I think, we're talking about the omegas, and it could be hard to remember, but it's like, I look at how easily when we're not in a good place and we're focusing on grief, how we can make negative, toxic things as kind of our supplement. And it's so easy to say, I'm going to go, and have I'm going to get drunk, or it's so easy to say, I'm going to smoke this, or I'm going to pop this. And we don't even realize it's actually easier to be healthier than we think it is. I mean, when it comes to what we eat, and I think, gosh, from like 20 years ago to now, how it is actually, you can go to the grocery store, there's that is just healthier than, stopping at Wendy's and getting the number one value meal. And then 2 hours later, they're not preaching here, just feeling like crap.
I agree with, well, and the thing is that the difference in that one choice, do I go to the bottle, or do I go, towards the toxic stuff, or do I go for the healthy stuff? It's just one choice away, and you're going down a road that, and
could be scary.
That's a very scary.
Could be scary. I remember after Shayna, there was a point, I'm going to say a year plus, that, I drank a whole lot. which is absurd that it was, that it was, this whole thing was related obviously to alcohol, but I didn't want to think. I just wanted to be numb, and I was hurt, and it was like, but that's one of the toxic forms that I found a crutch with. And it's like, and to be able to step back and say, you know what, because I listened to, I was talking to you about that, one of those, episodes you taped with another program, and how you had talked about, which I think is so important. I needed to, I could either become another victim, right? And it's like Lauren and Jason, or I could kind of be fueled and living, I don't want to say for both, but just making her proud. I look at that every day. Like I want to make my sister proud. She was taken at 17 years of age, had no choice, there was nothing involved that it was or unforeseen. And I could be kind of sucked into the vortex of grief and toxic decisions, or I can make the most out of the life and the days I'm given, and we don't know how long we have, and make the world a better place and become a better person. I mean, and I know that's kind of one of your focuses yourself, and that's a big decision.
Yeah, and so mine kind of expressed itself a little bit differently, only because I'm not living for her, but
I didn't mean for. That's not what yeah.
No, I understand what you mean, but I just kind of want to language it a little differently, because for me, it's like, I realize how frail life can be. Like we don't know, we could be gone tomorrow, right? And it's any of us. And it gave me a fearlessness to be like, you know what? I'm going to go. I found a lot of value in yoga and healthy lifestyle, and I'm going to go teach other people. And I'm not going to be afraid to do that. And I'm going to go, anyone who wants to listen, I will teach, and I will help move from what, and the monetization of it, we'll figure it out. It's like, I'm not going to be afraid of that.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to be afraid of, what happens if, or, those kinds of things. I can't, fear, I have to work through that fear. And if it comes up, I just remember that, I'm creating my own fear. And then if I can work and move through it, and that's what keeps me pushing. Because, being an entrepreneur can be really challenging at times, especially
scary.
Yeah. I mean, and there are times where I like, you know what, if I just got a job, it would, just be, but then it would be disavowing myself, and it would be like, go leaning into the fear rather than moving through it. So it's always this little push. And I always have Lauren kind of in the background saying, reminding me that, listen, you're blessed with this gift of life. Go and just do what you're passionate about, and be fulfilled with all the people that you're helping and educating. So,
well, and I think that's huge. It's using your passion, but also it's helping people. And I do believe that we have a choice, that we kind of this fork in the road at life, that we can either use our stuff, our hurt, our past to kind of consume us, or we can use it to fuel us, that really not only fuels us, but can make a difference in the lives of other people. And I think the fulfillment that comes from that and is just beautiful. I really do. Using our words and our actions, it goes far. Because we don't know how long we have. Life is fragile, and it's what we do with it. And I will say to you, like I'm inspired by what you're doing. Your lifestyle, your passion. It's kind of like it just resonates from you, and that's an awesome, contagious thing. And I think all of us can kind of, when we get excited about life, even with all the stuff, right, the hurt and the challenges to fuel it's a beautiful thing. And that took me a long time to say that, but it is. And so
there's also a really wonderful, as you're saying this, there's a really wonderful interview between Stephen Colbert and Anderson Cooper that talks about, because Stephen Colbert lost, I think, 2 brothers and a father in I think it was a car accident, and Anderson Cooper, and they're talking about the pain of loss, and Stephen Colbert very eloquently explains about finding the beauty even in your pain, because we are all human. The blessings that we receive are both good and they're bad, like and they're struggle. And so in order to appreciate one, you have to appreciate both. So it's really, it really was like, oh, that's like, it's something that I've been talking about a little bit lately. But he explained it really, really well. I'll make sure that we get the link to that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Link to that interview. It's really quite remarkable. Like, just to think of it like, oh, we have to find blessings in our pain too, because that's also beautiful.
We do. And in the midst of, we'll say, the storm, that's a very hard concept to digest. But when we kind of begin going forward, allowing ourselves because it is, I look at, life 20 years ago and the changes. And I look at it, I was blessed. My sister, who is always my sister, but not physically here anymore. I had her for 17 years, and that was a blessing. And I look at all the beautiful, and I'll use that term, things that have come from that, the changing in people's lives and education and awareness. Beauty has come from heartache, and it can, if we pursue that. I do. And every single person that's listening to this today, and every person that you'll be talking to with your workshops and on different podcasts, we've all been through hurt. And it's how do we deal with that? And I think what I know confidently what you're doing is using this platform is making a difference in people's lives. And so I want to say thank you, Jace, for being my cousin, for sharing your heart, sharing, Lauren with us. And I it's so important, and knowing that beauty can come from heartache. Absolutely. And when we pursue it, and keep doing what you're doing. I want to let you guys know I'm going to have all the links in today's notes. I'm also going to attach Jason's email if you want to get in touch with him. He does some fabulous, awesome work. I know he's rolling out to Woodstock soon. So I'm wishing you a safe week, my weekend, my friend, and wishing all of you.
Could I add one more thing?
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to add one more thing, because I have an online group chat that, so it's specifically for people who have lost siblings. It's one of the things that came out of this work that I'm doing that, like, I really feel like, there's not enough support out there, and people are living all across the country and all across the world that are dealing with it. So if you connect with me you can connect with me on Facebook, and I will send you the link. It is, though, specifically for siblings who have lost siblings. And it's Thursdays at 6:30 Eastern time right now. So if you're anywhere listening to this, anywhere across the country, you can feel free to just hop on. If you want to do a chat with me before, just to get you're a little hesitant, it's on Zoom like this. So so it's really easy to hook into. We have people from all across the country that are connecting and talking about their loss, and people that are new and old. We had a woman share last week that was brand new to her loss, and it's really a great place just to be in community with people and not feel like you're annoying, the people who don't understand. So.
It's support. It's support. And that's awesome. And so I will have that link and anything else that you throw at me, Jace, and I'll make sure. And if you guys have any questions for myself or Jason, reach out. And I want to wish you, as we kind of rock out to another day, to all my listeners, heaps of peace, love, and goodness, my friends. If you enjoyed today's episode, there's a lot more encouragement and life-kicking strategies on goodnesschick.com. Have a great day, my friends.